Hi, I'm Jasmine. I'm the Executive Director at Optimism Place Women's Shelter and Support Services here in Stratford.
Hi, I am Alicia, and I am the residential manager also at Optimism Place.
Now, what exactly does Optimism Place do for our community?
So Optimism Place is the only emergency shelter for women with or without their children experiencing violence in Perth County. So we provide emergency shelter for folks and a whole complement of support services and other programming that help women transition away from abusive relationships and back into the community safely.
You're obviously a little bit older than us, so how in recent years has conversation changed about violence?
I think in recent years the conversation has changed a lot about violence against women, especially with the use of social media and different hashtags that have been going on. I think that it's spread a lot more awareness and has definitely increased access to services.
Yeah, I think people are just more aware that violence continues to be an epidemic across Canada. Ultimately, a woman is killed every 2.5 days by an intimate partner. That's a really troubling statistic. So I think there's a lot more awareness, but we're not necessarily seeing rates of violence go down. So, that's the conversation. I think people are talking a lot more about the impacts of violence and sexual assault in our communities and what we need to do to kind of respond to that and provide the supports that people need.
I also think that people seeing violence and sexual violence as a traumatic event in someone's lives and the impacts that can have on people for the rest of their lives. So I think the more we know about that, the more we're able to help people going forward.
I also think the conversation's changed a bit with youth. We actually know that most people experience violence at higher rates before the age of 24. So between the ages, I think, of like 16 and 24, youth experience higher rates of violence, but we don't necessarily see youth coming through our shelter, right? So I think the conversation is how are we reaching folks who just kind of in more early intervention ways, who are starting to explore intimate relationships to ensure that that those relationships are healthy.
You've said that we're more vocal about violence against women, but statistics haven't necessarily gone down. Why do you believe that is?
Well, it's maybe not that. I think sometimes more awareness might look like it's happening more. So maybe more people are reaching out for support. So it might look like the rates of violence are increasing even, but it might just be that the conversation's happening more often. People are reaching out for support. There's more awareness in our communities that actually looks like rates of violence are increasing.
Yeah, I think that's the tough part when we're looking at statistics, is that, just because there's more awareness, then people are probably reporting more, but it's really hard to measure. So while numbers with our services haven't really changed very dramatically over the years, we feel that we're able to do more community engagement, talking with young people, talking with different community members, and just making sure that they know that they have a safe place to go.
It's a good one. With the whole social media aspect, do you think that violence against women is an epidemic? Do you think it's something do you think we put enough emphasis on it, or do you think we should put more into it?
I think that's tough because I think if you look in any other area, if this many people were being killed in that area, it'd be looked at very differently. If this many police officers or soldiers in another country were being killed at this rate, I think it would be looked at very differently. And unfortunately, that has to do with a lot of systemic issues in our society, the way women are viewed, and the importance that's placed on violence and things going on in the home.
Now, one thing that when we met with Gary, what he spoke about was the objectification of women in media. Can you explain what that is and how you think it affects our society?
Yeah, so I think that when we think about kind of the root causes of violence, one of the things that we talk about is how women are viewed in society. And so a lot of the ways that we take in information is through social media and through what we see on TV and kind of the whole spectrum of social media. And so I think that, we've done some really good work in the schools actually to get folks thinking about how in their daily routines through media they've taken in visual images of women when they're being objectified and things like that. If you're not aware of that, it just contributes to your lenses and the ways that you think about women, and actually can lead to undervaluing women as people, unfortunately. So I think that, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but yeah.
Well, yeah, in terms of objectification of women, it's so subtle and it's just so ingrained in everything we do. And until we're consciously taking a look at what's going on and what we're seeing and how women's bodies are being used to sell products, and it doesn't happen the same way for men. It does happen for sure in terms of objectification, but it's very different and it's very historic with women. You can go back and look at magazines or news articles from the 60s, and it's actually even worse. I think it's got a bit better. I think guidelines on what's allowed to be released is a bit better, but we're still using women's bodies to sell